If you are looking for FC25 coins as well as other game keys, currencies, gift cards, and more, check out u7buy.com. Doing so via the link in the description would really help me out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I finally got another tutorial to put out. I know a lot of you have been looking forward to those, and I've got a couple this week, so if you are excited, you've got something to look forward to. But today I've got a new passing mechanic. This actually existed last year, and I had no idea that it did. I'm very glad I found it this year, though. Kind of stumbled upon it just looking through the, when you look at playstyles, it says, this improves this and also improves this other thing. And under incisive pass, there's precision passes and precision swerve passes, and that's what we're going to be covering today. Now, precision passes are R1 and triangle. You'll see this little white line with a circle at the end that appears on the screen that helps you guide this almost entirely manual pass. Now, being the triangle button, it's kind of intended as a through ball. Excuse me there. It's intended as a through ball, but you don't necessarily have to play it as one. You can play it to feet. And I find this incredibly helpful just to kind of help me determine which player I'm going to pass to. So the more power I put into it, if I want to pass it to Karchawi here and not El Shaarawy, I can just put more power. Same thing, Neymar there, and that actually goes to Bowie, so that's my fault. But in normal situations like this, like getting it to Karchawi, if I hold triangle down, sometimes it will, but sometimes it just decides it to be an entirely assisted pass and just kind of make it go where it wants it to instead of where you want it to. And as this is, having the complete decision of where to put it I just find incredibly useful. I had an example of it where I was basically here. I think it was with the goalie, it might have been with the center back, but I got pressed in a way that left it where every single player was guarded and I had nothing I could do except do this, and I just kind of dump it off into the corner. And that was the only available option, other than just clearing the ball up the field with a square pass, of course. But that was the only available ground option, where I was able to complete a pass that escaped the press of the opposition completely, because everybody was marked except for that little corner. Oh, I'll just put it here. Actually, there's no other possible way to get the ball in that position on the field, right? So having this manual pass option is incredibly useful for me. That said, there is a more useful version, and that's precision swerve passes. Same button combination, except we're adding L2 to the mix. So this is L2, R1, and triangle. And you'll see there's just a curve on the ball that you won't be able to get otherwise. Same there. Oh, there's so much swerve on that, I swear. I'm not trying to gas this up that much, more than it deserves. There's just an incredible amount of curve on that. You can guard, or you can dance around, or escape guarded passing lanes that the opponent is covering. You can just get around it completely with the swerve passes. And again, the manual selection I find incredibly useful too. You can put more power in it than normal, so you can lead your player a little bit further than any other situation you'd be able to. I find these passes a little bit better. Oh, and there's even that little bit of power where they're almost a little jammy, so I do incredibly recommend it, even if you're not confident with it being a manual pass and you're oh, maybe I'm going to mess it up. I found them to be effective anyway. Sometimes they'll just work out for you. Obviously, this is in moments, so the AI is not going to be the best, but there's a ability to escape what's guarded. There's a curve to it that you, again, can't get any other way. And the assurance that you're actually going to pass it to the right player rather than kind of passing it into a zone where the game could decide 1, 2, maybe 3 different players it could go to. And me telling the game, no, actually the way I want the ball to go is to this specific player, and you just determine that with the amount of power. Now, there are some downsides. Of course, it being manually defended means it can be a little tricky. It takes a little while for that reticle to move. If I full power it up, then it takes a while for that power to actually accumulate. So they're not the fastest passes to pull out. So if you're really close to a defender and you want to just spam one away, you can't really spam one away with power, right? Where it's easier to just hold a normal triangle or normal driven pass or anything else. That will power up a little bit quicker than these. Of course, these powering up slowly gives you a little bit more accuracy with them. So that one was performed a little poorly, but I feel like that one was on me. Now these are better with incisive pass. So I'm doing a lot of these with this new Bellingham card because he's got incisive pass plus, and you'll see You'll see the playstyle pop above his head for it. You should be able to see his there versus Mares, who just has single. His will have not quite as much curve, and they won't move to their target with quite as much speed. That one was... I thought he was going to do that right foot instead of left. Now, I could have done a little bit better there, but again, I've got a lot to learn with these. These are a new mechanic. I'm very confident of integrating them into my game most of the time, but I do, again, have a lot to learn. That was a foul. Now, this will be one with Mares here, and you should be able to see. It looks really good, and it's close, it's very similar, but they don't travel with quite the same power and quite the same curve as Bellingham's. And if I do it with Bowie here, it's got lower passing stats and not incisive. It's a little bit more in the air, and there's not quite the curve. Now, that had a lot of power because I put the power into it, but of course, missing that playstyle, you're going to be missing it a little bit with these passes. So it does depend on the playstyle you have. I would still say even without it, they're very effective. They're definitely worth trying. But if you've got the playstyle, all the better. Yeah, that one a little bit for too much power. And that's something to keep note with these as well. My biggest problem with them is just putting too much power in. So sometimes just a little tap is enough. If I tap it as light as I can, we'll do like this. You see how far ahead the reticle kind of starts immediately? So these are hard to do, just little layoffs. These are meant for, you know, not quite like 3-4 yard passes. They're meant for at least maybe 6, 7, 8 yard passes, you know? So I wouldn't quite recommend them for layoffs, even though the manual idea seems like they should be great for that. That's the one downside. I wish maybe you could do a little bit less power with them. But when you do need that much power, something like that, these come off just exquisitely for me. Let me show you a couple real game examples. Actually, I'll show you the description of the playstyle in game here first. So we'll be able to see here on the incisive pass plus, through passes are far more accurate, so that's the normal triangle, but swerve passes are delivered with maximum curve, and precision passes travel at top speed to the destination. If you've ever seen KDB in real life play one of those passes that like skims across the ground, but then seems to slow down right before it actually gets to the player's foot, this is the closest I'm able to find in the game that kind of replicates that. I know the crosses from the side where you like L1 double tap square or something are like the most accurate passes in the game, but any other situation where you're not just crossing the ball, these are the most fun really I think I've had with passing actually in the game for a while, like in any FIFA for a while. Now we'll take a look at normal incisive, not the plus here. Through passes are more accurate, swerve passes are delivered with more curve, but not most curve. Precision passes travel faster to the destination, so not quite as good, but they're definitely, you know, like any playstyle, it's kind of in the middle. But I didn't really realize that incisive pass had such a benefit in game, because it benefits your L1 triangles, your over the tops, your normal triangles, I think your double tap triangles if you do the one that's slightly in the air. And then all of these precision swerve passes. So let's get into a couple in-game examples, and I'll show you just how powerful these are. Now let's take a look at a couple examples here. So I've got Nicola Barella. He does have incisive pass minus. And you can see, I'm trying to aim it up to Neymar, so this one goes a little bit further down. I might flick the left stick down at the very end. Let's see my accuracy here. I do kind of move the left stick down to the end, and I think that just flicks the movement of it. You can see, still effective. So they've got this little bit of jam to him where, I don't know if like Neymar just reacts to it a little bit quicker than he would a normal pass, or maybe the defenders don't quite react, because I feel like normally the AI gets this. But even though I've manually moved it a little bit off, it's still this effective where your players are just able to get it. I feel like it's got that level of jam. So again, if you're worried about that manual aspect of it, I really don't think that should deter you. I think these are absolutely worth trying out. You can see here, no other way to get that level of curve onto the pass with Bowie, and he does a little Trivela there. That's nice. I feel like this leads it to Bowie perfectly, because if I do a normal incisive, on his right foot, so I can do L2 normal triangle without the R1 press and do an incisive, but I don't think Bowie's first touch would be this effective, and it's not going to lead into the next move. So the fact that that pass was precisely where I needed it to go is what opens up this next thing. And that's Bowie with bad passing stats, no passing chem style, no incisive pass, on his weak foot. That's a 4-star weak foot. There's no other way to get that ball that far ahead of Mares which is exactly what you want here, right? Because in a normal situation, I think with this, you know, Mars ends up taking the first touch around when the defender is getting to him. So the first touch is about there, right? If you don't have that amount of power, you don't lead it that far away, then Mars is taking the first touch here and he's getting tackled immediately by Zimbrata here. But the fact that I'm able to basically just dump the ball off to another area of the field means that's the only way this is a successful interaction, and it gets me all the way down the field. So I love the fact that instead of just kind of being stuck with incisive passes always being like kind of 2 yards ahead of your player's foot, you can't do anything else about that no matter what. The pass is just kind of slightly leading them. I can lead them with as much power as I want and get this much benefit from it. Now I try to spam another one here, and that's unsuccessful, so they're not like that spammable, of course, but... Now speaking of spamming, how's that for a segue? That's one from El Shaarawy's weak foot, and then we'll go for another one here. Same concepts, no other possible way to lead him that far, which is what makes this successful. So again, any other situation, normal incisive means the ball's probably getting to his foot. Maybe it leads him, maybe it does get him behind. But of course when you're dribbling, you're a little bit slower instead of your maximum sprint speed when you're, you know, off the ball. So meaning he's sprinting this whole time with a little bit of curve, stays in bound. That's a perfect pass there. And again, no other way to make that work. There it goes down. A little bit of weird registration. I believe... I don't think I put enough power on this. I probably could power it up a little. Let's see. I could be slightly more powered up, but I do think I want that to Bowie. Still ends up working, and guess what happens next? Another little precision there. Up there, good registration. That's good. That one doesn't work. That one's okay. That one, so this is what I talked about with, you know, I think I'm wanting this past to Pichon, but the fact that the distance is already starting that, like, you know, a little 5-yard distance means you can't do those little hospital layoff passes. So that's why it selects El Shaarawy instead of Pichon there. So again, you've got to learn when it's the right time to play these and when it's the right time to do anything else. As I'm still learning, I'm like, when I get in the habit of like, or when I recall in game, I'm like, oh, I should use this for this situation. I start going like, oh, I used it for that one, let me use it for the next one, let me use it for the next one, and I start doing it a little bit too much. So the trick from here is learning it more and then integrating when you actually need to use these versus when you should use something else. But if you can do like one of these and then a normal tiki-taka pass or a normal incisive or a pinged, and then work another one of these into your game and just make it part of your repertoire, instead of doing what I'm doing here, which is a little unnecessary. Again, I'm showing you how effective these are, but it's not like for all of these you need to make this type of pass inside the other. Now I think the curve here definitely helps on both of these. You can see how much curve there is on that pass. Mars receives this really well, I think. A little bit of curve on that one. But here, I'm trying to show you it does work, but this isn't really the situation you're looking for. Maybe Pichon with incisive, with incisive or incisive plus could play this a little bit more curved and lead Neymar actually behind here. That's what I'm trying. Of course, her stats being a little lower, maybe it doesn't work for her there, but we're trying to show you, like, this is very effective, but, you know, maybe don't spam it in every single situation. So you definitely got to learn where, but I think it's very useful. Now this one's another example of using it too much, but first I do want to point out how lovely that pass is. I mean, again, like, any other situation, the ball's led a little bit more to her foot, and then you've kind of got to slow down and fake that you're, you know, coming to a little bit of a stop and then speed up again. But the fact that it's led, it's curved so well to her foot, so close to the touchline, means the defender doesn't want to extend all the way out, which means I'm allowed to take the step. You see the step forward that Cafu takes to go, maybe you're not going to sprint down the line, I'm going to guard the pass back to El Shah. Nope, I've got, like, the perfect ability to take a sprint touch here, get on by. Yeah, only because of the curve on that one. I'll show another one here. So again, effective to do these small little ones, but I think where I'm learning is when you're in your tight spaces, then just do your normal passes, because you can put, you know, less power in them. You don't necessarily need the exact precision in spots like that. And of course, when they're low power and they're like this close to the defenders, it's really hard to actually get in behind with one of these. So I might be able to, if I time this a little bit differently, I might be able to actually put El Shaarawy in behind. But of course, the tighter the space, the more difficult the manual pass is. So you can definitely experiment with these. I have to learn whether or not I'm going to put that in my game. But you can see that the passes are successful. It's just, is the manual risk of, I could get this perfect or I could mess it up, worth the consistency of just a normal triangle pass, not bothering with the precision swerve and just going, the game's going to give me something I can trust is going to work well enough to lead it to his fit, rather than here where I kind of play it at him anyway. Yeah, maybe there Maria's just a normal triangle instead of this. That said, if I master this, maybe you can get this down, but again, you've got to make that decision for yourself in game. I'm not quite sure which I'm going to do yet. You can see that these work, but a normal triangle would have worked a little better. Maybe with the perfect one of these you would have gotten in behind though. So it looks like a successful pass, then that one's too, and then I start spamming it a little too much. So again, once I get in you see pretty consistently, I think, with these that once I'm like, oh, I remember this is the pass type, I'm like, let me start using it all over the place. No, you've got to pull them out in the right situation. Now, I will tell you the biggest problem I have with these, and this is pretty consistent, is the amount of power. So that's something I'm also still trying to get down. You can see this has great shape to it, and it does kind of do, again, that KDB thing where it looks like it's really heavy at first, and then it starts slowing down. I really do like the shape to it, but I put too much power in this one. Now, the amount of power in this one is pretty unnecessary. I don't need to like aim it that perfectly, so just a little bit behind, or a little bit in front of Kochari would have been fine. But if I've got one tip for you, it's really managing that power, and it charges up a little bit differently than the other pass types, so that's what's kind of taking me a while to get used to. It feels like you've got a little bit more time, well, like the line on the field actually expands. With a normal pass, it's like, it's a little bit kind of consistent, but then it goes a little faster, I think, whereas this one, it's because it starts off already at like a guaranteed 5-yard radius, then it goes a little bit slower from there, if that makes sense. But I still got this tendency to put a little bit too much in. So again, when you're messing with this on your own, the power, I think, is going to be like even more so than the actual accuracy on the left stick, because I'm finding that really quite easy. The amount of power is going to be the most important thing to get down. So I do hope this entices you to try these out. Again, these come highly, highly recommended. I'm having a lot of fun with them. I think the curve is my favorite part because it just looks so much. It looks like so much fun in game as you're seeing it on the field. I really like the reticle, being able to feel like I know where that pass is going to end up, and I can slightly adjust it as I'm seeing it move. And the amount of power. I mean, that might be the biggest actual benefit, is just being able to lead the ball like 10 yards ahead of a player and really get him behind, as opposed to only being limited to like 3 yards ahead and not really having that much of a benefit on some of your through balls. Of course, it depends situationally. Sometimes you might want it closer to their feet. Now, out of the two, swerve passes come much, much more recommended. The precision pass itself, when there's no curve, just the R1 triangle, really don't see much benefit to that in game. Every once in a while, if you want to like play the ball in between two defenders and like it's got to be just a straight pass, you can't curve it around one. I can see that being beneficial, but every other situation, I think the curve is just the way to go. I think it's a big benefit to your game because you won't see a lot of other people playing like this. They're going to wonder, like, how are you actually getting these passes through? I can't do that. And I do wonder how many people actually know this is in the game, because I've played hours, and like I put 2,000 hours into last year's game, and I never actually heard of these. I only found it because of the looking at the playstyles thing here in the menu and finally getting curious enough to go, what does this actually mean? Like, are precision passes just normal triangle? Did they just rename it this year or what? And then I went into the settings menu and went, L2, R1, like, that's so complicated. And they call them precision swerve passes, which is a little off-putting to me. Like, does the name have to be that complicated, that many words? Anyway, I really like these. They're a lot of fun. I was talking them down a little bit just because I don't want you to spam them in every situation. They're not replacing other pass types. They're just an additional benefit. Another thing to your toolkit. If I have to say like a percentage of what I'm working into my game, that's a little hard to give because it depends on the playstyles. You know, when you're like, when I was using Stanway and she just had ping pass plus and no other passing playstyle, then like 80-90% of the time it's just ping pass plus. With Barella, with pinged and then incisive. With him, it's maybe like 60-70% pings and then the rest are incisive, either triangles or these precision swerves, and basically never ground passes. I don't need to do just normal X with him, but if I've got like Mahrez with Tiki, then it's a different layout. So it depends on kind of where you are in the field and what play styles and what passing stats you have. You know, with players like Mahrez, Neymar, or any incisive pass plus player I might use down the line, I think these passes are going to be like, as I have the ball with them, maybe 20% of my overall passes with these types of players. So again, not like massively game-changing, but an additional thing in your arsenal. With players without the incisive pass playstyle, it might be like 10%. It's going to be slightly less common because theirs aren't going to be quite as good, but they still are very beneficial. Again, we saw that one from Bowie's 4-star weak foot. What's his passing stats actually? 67 vision. It almost feels like it skips the vision stat. I don't know if that's that important as considering it's kind of a manual pass anyway, but then these passing stats, that phenomenal of a pass. Again, no other ability to dump the ball in that location other than having this button combination, this precision Swerve pass in your toolkit. I really do hope this brings some additional joy to the game. You've got some creativity. Again, there are things I can do now that I'm like, I had no idea I could even work these passing angles, these runs, or anything like that into my game. So definitely enjoying these. I do hope you enjoyed the tutorial here. Very curious with this one, actually more so than most, I think, because I just really want to know how many people knew this was a mechanic, if any of you use these, if this is going to encourage you to do anything. So more than any tutorial I've made before, I'm really curious for you all to get back at me with feedback. Maybe send out some clips. I've got a Discord in the description if you like, or you can send them to me at Twitter. We can talk about them, maybe talk about them on stream sometime or anything like that. But do want to see if you're able to generate anything fun with these, if you feel like they're a benefit to your game. If you don't have any clips, just reach out to me in the comments or anything and say, hey, this is actually a real big benefit, or I don't see too much of a benefit for them in game. I'm really curious about that, because again, I had no idea these existed, and I wonder how many other people did know they existed. But yeah, if you did enjoy the tutorial today, please drop a like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to leave there. Do hope you did enjoy. If you did, I will catch you soon, I think, for a settings video. I've got something I've done with my controller dead zone. So if you are curious about that, look forward to, it should be the video posted after this one. Following that should be a dribbling tutorial, because we've had the patch, and I've got a new kind of ratio of which dribbling type I use which dribbling type I use where. L2, R2 has kind of gone down the drain. I barely use it. L1 has gone massively up. Normal left stick has gone pretty massively up, although I'm still integrating into my game a little bit. But then the dead zone setting on the controller like bumped L1 a lot higher. So I've definitely, and having Neymar of course helps with that, but even like without the controller dead zone thing, I wouldn't be using L1 nearly as much as I am now. So do look forward to that. I will catch you with all of those soon. I do hope you enjoyed again. Have a good night, everybody. Take it easy. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.